We're coming to you live from the Kampala Serena Conference Center Nile Room. My name is Josephine Karunji, and tonight in the studio, well, before I introduce who my guests are, in May last year we spoke about mental health. We had a couple of guests who came and shared their stories with us. We spoke to Joseph Tukunda, who is a mental health advocate, and two other people who as well had the same experiences as him, and they told us their stories. So we thought we'd bring that story back and share a bit more about mental health, and this time from another young lady who has lived with mental disorder from as far as she can remember, and she speaks to us tonight about overcoming mental illness and raising awareness about mental health. But before we start, here's her story.
Sarah Tishamirire has a story to tell, a story about pain and adversity. She also speaks about hope in the midst of the storm. Diagnosed with mental disorder at the age of 12, Sarah describes her harrowing experience with attacks, hallucinations, unending hospital visits, and her inability to stay in school consistently.
At the age of 12, I was diagnosed with a mental disorder, and at the age of 14, I began medication. But looking back now, my mom keeps saying that I started showing symptoms from the age of 9, and it sort of seems like that's all I've known, suffering from such a young age. But another important thing happened at the age of 9. I got saved from health gates and health flames. My doing it was trying to avoid hell, but I think the Lord, knowing what my life was going to be like, He said no. I was always in and out of school and suffering from different ailments also, but I struggled with bipolar. At some point they said split personality disorder, with hallucinations, with so many suicidal tendencies. I'd take overdose. I felt such a peace, slept, no one knew. But all of a sudden my heart started pounding, and I was like, I have to tell Mom. I walked back and forth to her room thinking, should I tell her, shouldn't I? But I guess that was God saying, no, I still need you.
It would seem like enough trouble for one person, let alone a little girl. Sarah thankfully had the support of her family and friends. They never gave up on her. She recalls one of her worst experiences that put her in a coma for a month.
So on these drugs, as I was telling you, they make you put on weight. And so I was quite big. I was 124 kilos. I'd stopped measuring myself. So if someone looked at me, they would think I'm healthy. But I knew there was something wrong. This wasn't like any other attack. For example, I was so hot, and I always wanted to sleep on the floor. I would go to the doctors, and as I was telling you, I got more stigma from the hospital. A place where you thought these guys would understand, and they didn't. And yet the laymen, my family and friends, somehow seemed more understanding. So I kept telling him something is wrong. And at the time he began to believe me, I had all spots, black spots on me. I asked him, this spot, he's like, you see, when you're growing, you get those spots. I'm like, but my mom doesn't have them. And it's like, no. So this, I was telling you, September 5th, a Wednesday, I got seeing my lips are all white. And he's convinced you've taken overdose. And I'm like, doctor, I've come here. They brought me here when I've taken overdose. I don't speak like this. Thursday, I wake up and I just know this is it. I guess grace once again. Because I call my mom, they send a driver, they take me to hospital. Long story short, September 8th, I gone into a coma. I wasn't even given drip or anything. They were convinced I was not well. I was in an attack. So they tell my family if I was to come out, it would be a miracle. And if I did, I wouldn't be able to do much. But 1 month later, I do come out. And of the confusion that was in my head, I couldn't talk, I couldn't see, I couldn't turn, I could do nothing.
Mental disorder is a real thing. Sarah's journey is testament to that. Through all the pain and stigma, she kept hope alive. Today, she wants to change her life by writing a book and raising awareness about mental illnesses.
The reason why I want to write the book, it's not about the story. It's not to have someone look at me and say, oh, you've been through much. No, it is to change a life. And to me, this book can take me to places I can never go.
Wow, Sarah, your story. But I didn't even introduce you. So our guest tonight, forgive me for that, Sarah Tushemerire, and you were sharing your story with us in that clip.
Yes.
And you came escorted by your brother, Brian Mutsha. Thank you both for coming to the show.
Thank you.
And as I was saying, because I'm overwhelmed watching your story, where do you get the strength coming to talk about it?
The strength, I guess, is in knowing that I survived. I've been through quite much, and I survived for a reason. And I believe I did not survive for myself or for my family. My story can help change lives. And if it saves a life or two or a family that is wondering what's going on, that's enough for me. So,
how old are you?
I'm 31.
You're 31, and
yes.
you were diagnosed at the age of 12.
Yes.
Do you remember anything before that? That indicators that pointed to there could be a problem?
Yeah. I think around the age of 10, or not even the age, but a bit when I was younger, I'd always be in the house. My brother, I'm the firstborn, so they would go out and play. I'd rather be in the house all the time, be by myself, and if we're walking, I'd hold myself as quite alone. But also in school, I remember a story that makes them laugh, but looking back now, it was an encounter. I love studying, but one time in a paper, I don't know if you remember, I just thought of, why don't I write apex? It was in P4 and a science paper. I think I knew stuff, but in the middle, I just thought, let me write Apex on everything. And coming back home, it made them laugh, but I think it was an encounter. Why should anyone who knows what to do, why would they decide willingly to write Apex? So,
which person in your family was the first person that thought maybe there's something?
I think my mom.
Okay. Brian, did you have any thoughts at that time?
No, it never occurred to me. Actually, when she talked about Apex, when she brought her paper home, I actually went ahead and copied, and then I went in my paper and also wrote Apex because she was a very brilliant girl. So when I said that
was the correct answer.
I knew those were correct answers. So when I reached the paper and I said, hey, okay, I know the answer. So I started, I wrote Apex, but she was very brilliant. She used to advise us even at that age, and it did not occur to us any time that she was ill. It's only our mother later who came and tried to tell us and talk to us. We had support from the family as well, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at some point, Sarah, you said they told you had a split personality, which makes me think maybe you were not aware at that point. I don't know if, Brian, were you guys aware? Did you see any changes that made you think this is not the Sarah that we are used to every day?
Changes came in later. They really did come in later when we started noticing and accepting who she is or who she has become. But before then, we used to want to reason with her. We used to want to talk to her, you know, until...
What would be the difference between the Sarah you know than the one they say this is a split personality?
Now where do I start? I personally never went into so much science, I ought to believe that, but you would tell when she was low. When she was low, that's when you tell now she's not well. But when she's high and she's happy and she's okay, well, that would be, you don't tell when she's low and maybe when she gets a bit reserved or she wants to be alone or something, that's when you know maybe she's not fine. But it will take some time for you to come to terms with it.
Sarah, what's been your most memorable experience from, in these, my math is terrible, I can't do the math, but between age 12 and 31 now, what do you think about and say, how did I get past that?
The self-harm. The self-harm for me. Struggling with a low self-esteem and depression. Even the hallucination and bursting out in classes and screaming and all that did not leave the memory of self-harm. I remember I was seated outside one time on the veranda. I sort of came to my senses. I had a stone in my hand and I looked and there was blood. I was so confused. I knew what had happened, but I could not put one and two together. And with time, the voices would tell me that if you hurt yourself, you will feel better. If you see blood, you will feel better. And unfortunately, they were true. But it came from just a small scratch to my arms, and that you cannot hide.
So the cuts on your arms were self?
Yes.
You put those on you cut yourself?
Yes. It started with a stone and it went to all this where I would use broken glasses, shavers, and this is something you cannot hide. Everyone looks at you and they want to touch.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's self-inflicted, because at some point it wasn't about the voices telling me to hurt myself anymore. I wanted to do it to myself. but I could not admit that to my family or friends. So I'd have to keep on saying, it's our voices, it's our voices. But to me, that experience that has left me scarred for life.
At what age did you start to hear the voices and to also cut yourself?
The voices, I could say 14, but to cut myself 18. Yeah.
So this has been for how long now?
From 18 to I was 26 to 2012, and thanks be to God, I haven't done it since then.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Salons, we offer professional barber, hairdressing at Lugogo Mall, Garden City, Forest Mall, Oasis Mall, and Acacia Mall. Sparkle Saloon, professional, affordable, and quality services.
Welcome back. We're coming to you from the Kampala Serena Conference Center Nile Room, and Sarah Tushimerire is sharing her story with her brother Brian Muchia, who is an escort for today. Brian, when you see the cuts on Sarah's arm and you hear talking about this, what are you thinking?
It's beautiful, because when she inflicted this on herself, or when this happened, it was so heartbreaking. We did not know where to start. We did not know what to do. But the most important thing I remember during that time was family. Our mother emphasized family from the word go. And when all this was all this was happening, family. So we were stronger. We grew stronger together. We did not let her go through it alone. Our aunties, our uncles were amazing. The friends were amazing, and this is why I'm saying it's beautiful, because it's out of this that we grew stronger, we got to love each other more, we understand what it is to be there and to be here, for her to be alive. I remember I used to be next to her in the hospital when she was in a coma, and then they kept telling me, hey Brian, you know what, you have to talk to her, you know. Now, I'm not a science guy, I'll repeat. I'm very much arts. But they tell me just talk to her, and then I'll lay there on the bed, she's here, and I'm talking endlessly. Trust me, I would talk, I even stand, and then I start looking at the ceiling, then I start talking again. But one thing also that got me relieved was, one time I changed jobs, and the employers were great also. They would understand this every time we were going through this.
Your employers?
Yes, my employers. They were very understanding. So the time I had changed jobs, I came and told her in the ear, I whispered something in the ear about it, and I told her, you know what, Sarah, I've changed jobs. I will not mention the salary, but I told her, this is how much I'm getting.
She was still in a coma?
She was in a coma, because now when you run out of what to say, start saying, start talking, bring out this. So apparently I talked to her, and I'm like, hey, now, this is what I'm getting. You better come out so that we enjoy. So before we wait, she comes out. Now she comes out when she couldn't talk, she couldn't write, she couldn't, you know, she was starting from scratch, because she's been there for a while, about a month, about some time. So she comes out, and we are all excited, and we were told maybe she will not hear. I mean, we expected so many things. But here she comes, and by the way, she does not forget. Sarah is one person who will tell something today and she remember it. So the doctors told us that she might have lost her memory. But when she came back, she would actually remember every single thing.
Did she remember what money you were earning now?
I'm coming. The first thing she mentioned when she started, I think by then, I think it was maybe my sister, one of my sisters, who, I think Faith, I'm not sure, but yes. Because she couldn't talk, so we had to devise means of understanding her. She's on the hospital bed, but we should be murmuring and we couldn't hear her. So we started from the drawing board, A, B, C, D, you know. So whichever letter she picks, we make a word. So at that point, I think, is when she makes a word. I think my share was something. Then I'm like, oh my God. This girl was actually listening to me. And she chose to pick out that thing and listen to that, but I don't know. It was amazing. People
My
actually,
share? That's what you remember.
yeah, people were actually...
And I didn't know he had said it when I was in a coma. I thought he had actually told me, because later on when I was able to speak and put words together, I was like, Brian, you promised me. And he would keep trying to dodge until one time he told me it was a strategic move, but I'm still waiting.
She's still waiting. Sarah, are there times when you wanted to give up, when you're just tired?
So many times. The taking of overdose. Time and time again, I tried to take my own life, and from taking overdose to jumping out of moving cars to thinking this is too much, I can't handle this. But what kept me going, I kept saying, I'm not. Each time I survived and come out, because sometimes because of the overdose I would end up in an ICU, and you know, you realize, oh gosh, I'm still alive. But I'll be like, okay, for my family and friends, I will live for them, not for myself.
So you've been through this journey, you've seen your family respond, and I know you've been doing research now about mental health. What are some of the things that you've researched about, or you know, looked at your own experience and you wish you knew before, that if you told somebody now, they would pick something useful out of?
Mental disorders are real. They're very real. There's nothing, but they're not diseases. A disease is like malaria. You can test it and you find you're either positive. You can check it in blood, but they're real. When I was diagnosed, I started medication quite early because I was led to believe it's a disease, and when you take a tablet to correct whatever is wrong, so you put your faith on a tablet. But with time, you realize, no, it's not working. And each time they had to change my drugs, and to see the medicine is not helping, it brought me lower and much lower, because I was expecting something that a drug cannot fix.
Yeah.
So if I'm to communicate, that would be my emphasis. It's real, but drugs don't help. In fact, I had a problem, I had a disorder, but it was until on a certain medication that the harm began, that the suicidal tendencies. So now reading and seeing the side effects of the drugs and how they change the brain, I'm like, oh, this is it. This is why all this happened.
Okay. Well, I want to know what's been working for you, but let's continue that conversation right after this break.
Salons, we offer professional barber, hairdressing at Lugogo Mall, Garden City, Forest Mall, Oasis Mall, and Acacia Mall. Sparkle Saloon, professional, affordable, and quality services.
Welcome back. We're coming to you from the Kampala Serena Conference Center Nile Room. Well, before we took a break, Sarah, you were talking to us about what it's like to cope. So the medicine is clearly not working for you. How do you then manage?
I stopped medication on 2016 December. Actually, I've been off the drug for a year and just a few months. But the greatest thing that's working for me, first of all, would be my faith. My faith has seen me throughout all this, and right now it's, should I say, making sense. So my faith is my strength. But apart from that, the way of thinking, not what I think about. Having a change in the way of thinking has helped me respond to life better, because these disorders are just a manifestation with trying to cope with circumstances of life. So when I think a different way, the circumstance, for example, like I cannot control life circumstances, but I can control my reaction.
Okay.
That when something happens, I'm like, okay, I can't control that, but how I respond.
Okay.
And also understanding that people are hurting, so they can hurt others. And so when someone does something, it's not to me personally, it's out of, they're also hurting.
Yeah.
So that helps me let go, and knowing that I also hurt people, and coming up with a way to cope with other people's failure but my own. So it's a whole changing, a whole thinking pattern that it has changed and still does change up to today.
Wow. Oh, Brian, your family, and so I'll ask you this question because you've been the people taking care of Sarah. Mm-hmm. What is the cost of mental health?
The cost of mental health. Love. You have to love. One thing I would say is that people shouldn't look for other ways out, really. We were faced with a few challenges then. People would talk of witchcraft. I don't think people should actually go to witchcraft or anything. The best thing is family, love.
Also, they were sending you to the...
Yeah, so people come up and say, hey, go to Jaja Mwanga, Mweo Kabia, those things.
Don't advertise for him.
Okay. But anyhow, refraining from all that, love would be the greatest to give to people who are going through this. And you have to be selfless. You don't have to think about yourself. You don't have to think about your feelings or emotions, because sometimes they cut off. So when they do cut off, you have to be there.
Yeah.
You don't have to think of who am I also need this, I want this, I need this, I believe in this. All that has to go behind you, and you first take care of them, you first look after them, show them all the love that they can get, and that's how they get back to
okay.
to
Sarah. So what do you do? What do you do with yourself now?
Now I bake. I bake, and right now I'm in the process of registering the company, but we bake cookies, cakes and muffins, and we try to do with the natural products to enjoy good health through food and drinks.
Okay.
Yeah.
how quickly did it take for you to bounce back from the coma? Because you said she had to learn how to do everything afresh. So walking, can you walk out? Can you take time out of the wheelchair? What can you do with yourself?
Yes, it has been a long struggle. I can walk with the walker now.
Okay. Yeah.
But it has been a learning process, but now I can also I say I'm Miss Independent. No one has to be with me all the time. I remember one of the things was having to turn in bed. They have to turn me in bed, and you know when they turn you, you get tired and you have to wait to be turned, or at some point someone has just gone back to sleep and you're like, oh, I want to turn, and you're like, okay sir, hold on, give them at least 30 minutes. But now I can turn in bed, I can wheel myself, they leave me in the room, I can get onto the wheelchair, I find them, I go knocking on mom's door, I'm like, Mom, open up, it's me. So I'm doing much better.
Okay.
Just one more thing. I actually never thought I would say this, but I think it's the right time to say it.
Okay.
To our government, why? The mental facilities in Uganda, they should really look at it. But many people on the streets, I think if they have a government facility, I think people can be helped. When people come out through and they bounce back, they need physio, you know, at some certain point. Yeah. And physio can be quite expensive, quite challenging, and we don't have facilities in Uganda to do that kind of work.
So I was going to ask you, and when I asked about the cost, you gave me another answer, but I still will ask the cost again. Because when she speaks about having to turn, so if you guys are not there, maybe she needs a nurse, maybe so the medication and all of that. How much has it taken?
It's quite costly.
Okay.
I will not deter from that. It's quite costly. We had to pull resources from all corners.
Okay.
At some point, we took her to India. Friends supported. They brought in money because we had to do a few examinations on her, and you know, it's quite costly. So you need financial support, more emotional and physical support.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Sarah, you're writing a book. I was watching you in the video, and you're hard at work on a computer. What are you talking about in your book?
Actually, I haven't really begun to write the book, but I'm doing a lot of research to make sure I am well knowledgeable about this and I can speak. But the book that I want to put out would be a kind of book that can be read by someone struggling with a mental disorder, and they're able to not just read the story but find information on how to cope.
Okay.
And also be read by a family member or by a friend who has a friend struggling with mental disorder and find hope.
Okay.
And yeah, as I said in the video, that it's all about changing a life. I have seen a video whereby they tied someone on a tree because they had a mental disorder. I asked myself and my mom, where would I be if you were ashamed of me? If you had taken me to the village, if you hid me at home. But her knowing that I could get an attack anywhere, she still moved with me. Whether it was at a party and I got an attack, I screamed. The next time they never left me home. So if this book could give someone hope, someone in the village, they don't know what to do, because I would intend this book to be translated in different languages, to use this book as a platform for an NGO, go deep in the villages, but yet come back to towns, to families, and have lives transformed. But so, and I found a publishing company that is willing to work with me, and they've asked 30 million to do the interviews with all these people. Yes, he said that I don't forget, but on the drugs, I have a lot of gap memories. So for this book to be whole, there would have to be stories from my family, my friends. So that whole amount would include interviews with doctors, with research, and campaigning right now for funding, saying let us join together, support me. We all can be able to make a difference. We build each other up. I really strongly believe we're not meant to be alone or to struggle alone. Right. So together we can make a difference and bring an awareness out there, but not just on mental ill health, but on mental health. Okay. Having good mental health and thriving, and not just coping with life, but actually
thriving.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Sarah. Brian, I'm going to give you 2 sentences. What would you like 2 sentences, somebody who's watching, to know about what it's like to do what you and your family have been doing for Sarah? What can they do for their people? Yes. 2 sentences.
Yes. My English, I'll try. Now, when you are with disabled people, the best you can do is just share with them, love them, and share with them. Once you do that, you tap into their soul. You get to understand them, feel them. You can even see an attack coming and you prevent it. But if you let them be and you go do whatever you want to do, then it's going to take some time for them to recover. And we thank God who has made this happen. She has really showed tremendous recovery. We thank very many people. I would thank very many people for what they have done in Sarah's life. We may not mention so many, but everyone has played a role in Sarah's life. We've gotten to know new people. People have joined our family. It's been a great journey, really. The nurses who treated her, the bedside nurses, the chefs, everyone, really, it has been a good journey. The drivers of everyone.
Which reminds me.
All right. As we close up.
As we close, love from friends and family. This is why I'm here. My friends, and they were so understanding, quick, like they were also not ashamed of me, and they were always there. They would take turns. They'd be like, no, I'm going to be with Sarah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And my family, like, basically, as you say, love.
Well, I certainly hope, Brian, that the pockets are deep enough now, since you said you'd share and that you'll be sharing.
We are sharing.
Okay, great. Well, thank you both so much for coming to the show. Thank you very much, Sarah, for sharing your story with us. I certainly hope that you'll get the help that you need to get this going forward and touching the lives of the people that you'd like to touch. Thank you very much. Well, that's it for tonight. Coming up is NTV Weekend Edition. Keep it NTV.
Renew your monthly basic bouquet subscription of 18,000 shillings before it expires. Then enjoy 3 free days only on StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.